Hello students, I'm Dr. Archana Sharan, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics from Bhilai Mahila Mahavidyalaya. Once again, I am back with the topics of paper 1 for MSc 4th Sem on Unit 4 Nuclear Models. The topic for the discussion for the day is shell model. Before giving the brief about the shell model, let me first give you an overview about the nuclear models, which I've earlier explained in my topics, but just a zest of the topic. See, the nucleus is a quantum system of many nucleons, and in fact, our theoretical knowledge about the nuclear structure is incomplete and less than that of the atomic structure. A quantitative theory of the nucleonic interaction will be developed, and accordingly we choose that the nuclear forces of interaction for the method to explain the available experimental data is a little tough task to obtain the explicit form of nuclear forces from the experimental data on a two-body system. And because there is only one bound state of the nucleon, that is the deuteron, whose properties are not very well known. Further, the nuclear forces are velocity independent. And I earlier also have told you the basic difficulties in the theory of the nuclear structure are that we have a very poor knowledge of interaction force between the nucleons. And the nuclear models are subdivided into three types, that is IPM, independent particle model, or the single particle model. Number two, the strong interaction model, that is SIM or collective model. And third is the generalized model. See, a nuclear model is just an assumption that the degrees of freedom of the nucleus making up a definite set are approximately independent of each other. And the set degrees of freedom are presumed to interact weakly with each other and with the degrees of freedom. If I need to describe the shell model in a one line, I'll describe it as the nucleons move independently in a static spherical potential, and such type of models are known as the shell models. We know that the atomic numbers 2, 8, 18 are the most stable and chemically inactive, and they are also called the inert gases. In these atoms, the number of electrons are 2, 8, 18, which form a closed shell. It means that the electronic configuration is complete. On the other hand, if the number of the electrons in an atom is either one more or one less electron, then the closed shell will not be formed, and hence the atom is most chemically active. Now coming down to our topic, that is a nuclear shell model. On April 19, 1934, Lord Rutherford had addressed the Chemical Society London and concluded that it may not be that Mendeleev of the future may address fellow of the society on the natural order of atomic nuclei, and history may repeat itself. To explain the periodicity, the nuclear shell model was proposed by Mayer, Hassel, Jensen, and Swiss. And in the single particle shell model, the individual nucleons are considered to move in a stationary orbit and are paired off in such a way that the values of many nuclear parameters are determined solely by the single unpaired nucleons. We can determine here in my slide, using the shell model, we determine the parity and the angular momentum on the basis of the shell model. The shell model provides an excellent explanation of the parity of the ground state of the nuclei. And the ground state parity of even nuclei should be always even, and that of an odd A nuclei should correspond to the L value of odd nucleon. L value is azimuthal value of the odd nuclei. In an ideal gas, the L value is determined by magnetic moment of the nucleus, and hence the measurement of the magnetic moment provides a theory for vanity. Now here we'll be calculating the magnetic moment of the nuclei. In an odd nucleus, the total angular momentum capital I of the nucleus is equal to the angular momentum J of the last unpaired nucleon. Thus we see that the magnetic moment of the nucleus is produced by the odd nucleon only, and the orbital angular momentum with numerical value under root L into L plus 1, and the spin with the numerical value S under root S into S plus 1, coupled to a total angular momentum J with the numerical value under root J into J plus 1 is the units of H bar. And here the value of the H bar is equal to H upon 2 pi, where H is the Planck's constant. The magnetic moment associated with spin angular momentum capital S is given by the vector mu S is equal to Gs into S bar. The magnetic moment associated with orbital angular momentum vector mu L is given by mu L is equal to Gl into L vector. Hence, vector mu is equal to the sum of the components of the vector Gl into L vector and Gs into S vector along the J vector, which means that Gl into under root L into L plus 1 cos L dot J plus Gs under root S into S plus 1 dot cos L dot J. And by applying the cosine rule to the triangle formed by the vector L, S and J, the above relation can be written as mu is equal to GL into under root L into L plus 1 J into J plus 1 plus L into L plus 1 minus S into S plus 1 upon under root 2 into under root L into L plus 1 dot J into J plus 1 plus GS under root S into S plus 1 dot J into J plus 1 plus S into S plus 1 minus L into L plus 1 GS upon under root upon 2 into under root J into J plus 1. Solving further, we get the equation 4. Since for the single particle, the spin S is equal to 1 by 2, and there can be only two possible cases. That is L, number one, the L parallel to S, that is the stretch case. This case is known as stretch case when the azimuthal value is parallel to the spin orbital angular momentum. That is capital I is equal to small j is equal to L plus 1. That is equal to L plus 1 by 2. And the second condition is L anti-parallel to S. This case is known as jackknife case, where I is equal to J is equal to L minus S is equal to L minus 1 by 2. As we know that the spin orbital angular momentum can just have two values, either plus 1 by 2 or minus 1 by 2. Hence, L is equal to I minus 1 by 2 GL plus 1 by 2 GS for the stretch case, and mu is equal to I upon I plus 1 into I plus 3 by 2 GS minus 1 by 2 GS for the jackknife case. These two relations, that is equation number 5 and equation 6, defines the two curves for mu versus I with the value I is equal to L plus minus 1 by 2 for each class of even odd nucleus. The value of mu are known as Schmidt values and the curve is known as Schmidt lines. The curve is known as Schmidt lines and the value is known as Schmidt values. From equation 5 and 6, the G factors which corresponds to the single nucleons are GL is equal to 1 and GS is equal to 5.58 for protons, GL is equal to 0 and GS is equal to minus 3.82 for neutrons. And hence we obtain the predicted relationship between mu and I on the single particle model. Thus equations 5 and 6 reduces to we'll arrive to a condition that for odd proton, mu is equal to I plus 2.22, for value I is equal to L plus 1 by 2, and the value of mu is I minus 2.29 for I is equal to L minus 1 by 2. The next condition is for odd neutron, where the value of mu is, that is mu is the magnetic moment, is equal to minus 1.91 for I is equal to L plus 1 by 2, and the value of magnetic moment mu is equal to 1.91 I upon I plus 1 for I is equal to L minus 1 by 2. These two values of mu constitute the Schmidt limits. Now equation 7 and equation 8 are plotted in the figure 1 for nuclei of odd nucleons. See, the figure A shows the Schmidt plots for the odd proton case for J is equal to L plus 1 plus minus 1 by 2, giving the two lines as shown. And in the same diagram, the experimental values of the magnetic moment for some nuclei are also shown. Similarly, the figure B shows the Schmidt lines for the odd neutron case for J is equal to L plus minus 1 by 2. And the experimental values are also shown in the figure. These two diagrams show the experimental values do not in general agree with the Schmidt values. However, almost invariably, the experimental values lie between the two limiting Schmidt lines, both for odd Z and odd N nuclei. See, most of the experimentally measured magnetic moments lie nearer to one of the two Schmidt lines than the other, which has the L value expected from the extreme single particle shell model. And the experimental value is mu Z is equal to 3.26 mu N, which confirms that the assignment of P 3 by 2 for the ground state of the nucleus lies midway between the two limiting Schmidt lines without any unambiguous possible assignment. This was the calculation of the parity and the magnetic moment with the help of the shell model. Next, the angular momenta. The basic conclusion that we derive for the angular momenta with the help of the shell model is, number one, the even nuclei have total ground state angular momentum I is equal to 0 degree, and there is no exceptions to this rule. The second rule is with an odd number of the nucleon, that is a nucleus with odd Z or odd N, the nucleon pair off as far as possible, that the resulting angular momenta and the spin direction are just that of the single odd nucleus particle. And the third and the last conclusion that we draw for the angular momenta with the help of the shell model is an odd nucleus will have a total angular momentum, which is the vector sum of the odd neutron and the proton J values. With this, we come to the end of this topic, shell model. Thank you so much. Hope this video helps you in your further study. Thank you.